everybody. So we're going to be printing with our test plate collagraphs. We're going to be using acrylic paints, and I've chosen black and brown because they're quite earthy, maybe ancient colours. So our prints might look really old. So we're going to use those kind of colours, and they'll be nice and strong so we can see the print. So to begin with, we're going to take our nice flat wide brush. We're going to be careful when we use it and make sure that we're not making puddles of paint in this. If there's too much paint when we print, it just might look not so good. So how I do this is I dip my paint into the brush. This is very full of paint, so I'm going to wipe it on the edge of the palette, and we don't want to smash and break the brush, but we want to be very, very carefully dipping our brush in the paint and spreading the paint around. It's not technical, it doesn't need to look beautiful, but all the areas, all the little creases on our plastics or our string need to be well coated in paint. I forgot something. Before we begin, we need to have our piece of paper wet and damp. So what we might do before I continue to paint this, we're going to take our piece of paper. We need to write our name before we make it wet, because if I write on wet paper it will tear. So I'm going to write my name on the back of my paper, and then not on the newspaper but maybe on the table. You or your teacher will have these little water bottles. We need to spray both sides of the paper. So that will look like this. I'm going to put my paper down. I'm going to spray maybe 5 or 6 squirts on one side and 5 or 6 squirts on the other side. And when that just sits on the table, it's not in a puddle, but that paper is going to soften. That's really important, and you'll find out why when we're ready to print. Okay, so I'm going to keep doing my little print here, and it dries very fast, so you need to move fast. We don't want to let it dry. Okay, so coat it in the paint. I wasn't even wiping that time because I can just realize how quickly this dries. So you can put all the paint around. If it's a bit blobby, we can spread it later, and keep dabbing the brush all over. Okay. Now we take, this will tear if I'm not careful, so we take our paper and we can put it down. This is A4 size, these are A6 size, so we should get a few prints on this paper. But what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to maybe take the paper and press it down on top like this. So line up the corner, press it down, put the paper on top, and very carefully press. I could even take my newspaper, another little piece of newspaper on top, and standing up, I'm going to rub. This is so exciting. I'm going to rub on top, so you can see I've got that paper there on top, and using my fingers, I'm going to press. I can feel all the bumps of the rope and the plastic. I'm going to rub that in there. Careful I'm not pushing so hard that I tear my paper, but I really want to get inside all of those cracks. So I'm using my fingers to press and rub. Ooh, I wonder what it will look like. This is very exciting. So we're printing with the Collograph test plate. Okay, that was really helpful to have the newspaper. My hands could slide as I print. So this is always an experiment. You can see it's kind of coming through on the back. So I'm just kind of checking to see I've rubbed all those areas. Check, rub all around. Shall we do the reveal? Are you ready? Let's have a look. Hopefully it doesn't tear. Oh yes. Have a look at my test print. So that is like, I guess it's like a giant stamp, isn't it? But we really got to see the texture of the rope. I think I probably had too much paint on the plastic. And while the plastic areas, I think it looks like this, isn't it? This way. Or, yeah, it's a flipped image. So this little area is this area here. The plastic of the tissue plastic box, that's this area. So maybe the plastic, we need to use less paint. Maybe I need to use less paint overall. I can't see these cardboard bits that well. It kind of got smushed. So we can leave this here. I'm going to put it back on my watery area. I don't need to spray it yet. It still feels quite damp. And I'm going to have another go with the black paint and do a second print and have a look at what that does. You can see the paper kind of tore on here as well. So I'm going to work on that now, and then we can do a second print. Okay, so this time, because it's already quite wet with the brown paint underneath, and I've worked a lot quicker because I know what I'm doing, I'm just going to scratch off some of the paint on that plastic. Just a little less paint, because that was kind of smushy in that area. So I'm looking at my painting here and thinking about what areas worked well. So the rope worked really well, that was really clear, but maybe the plastic and the cardboard, I just had it too wet with paint. So using the drier brush, I can wipe the brush, I'm just going to scratch it back a little bit so it's not too wet. There's definitely paint there, but it's not puddly or shiny. Okay, so maybe we'll see what that looks like. Now I can test my paper. I think it's wet enough. Yeah. Okay, so put my plate down, and then we can take our printing paper very carefully. It's very soft. And we can line it up somewhere. I wonder how many prints I can get out of this today. I'm going to go this way. Maybe this way. So I'm not putting the paint on the table. So line it up with the corner. See how accurate you have to be? Line it up. Okay, now do I press? No, I have to take the newspaper. So I can put the newspaper on top. And then rub. Rub in there with your fingers. Okay, let's have a look. I think that's good. Shall we see? Hopefully we don't tear the paper. Ooh! A little bit torn here, but that's okay. We can always stick that down with some glue. But look at the difference of my prints. I can really see that texture of the plastic. So making less paint there was a very good idea. And this area too, over here, was just like a mess. But check out the way the plastic looks there. So that was really good reflective practice. I can even see the stripes of this corrugated cardboard. The string looks even better. Maybe with the paper not as wet, it looked even better. And maybe because my paper was too wet before, I tore off a little bit. I wonder if I could fit one more print. So today you might get 2 or 3 prints, and we'll leave this to dry, and we'll use those to reflect with next art lesson. Have fun, everybody. Bye.